Esteemed audience, sex education has been known to be a very controversial topic amongst young people, especially youth in high school. Today, the question our intellectual team seek to answer is, should family planning be introduced as a lesson to high school students?
This is the Great Debaters Contest. We are in Rift Valley region, Kapsabet town. I am your host, Esperancia Kapanga.
And I am Chris Boru.
In the proposition today, we have Banja Mixed Secondary School, and in the opposition, we have Wareng High School.
Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes to make your submissions.
Is it true that prevention is better than cure? I'm Valerie Lukaji from Banja School. I firmly propose the motion that states family planning should be introduced as a lesson to high school students. What is family planning? It is the process of controlling birth rates through contraceptives. Yes, there should be more family planning put into progress. It is in the human instinct to want to start having sex at about 17 years old. In accordance to the U report that was published on 19th July 2019, nearly 378,400 adolescents became pregnant between July 2016 and June 2017. So, teen pregnancies will keep happening forever. Because they will keep happening forever, more help needs to be there to help them out soon. In addition to that, I'm not certain that more family planning programs should need to be provided to Kenyan high school students, but they should be made aware of the available services that have already been implemented. In accordance to the SDG number 3, good health and well-being. Every day, 100 women die during pregnancy. This death can be prevented through treatments, education, immunization, sexual and health reproduction. The education will be a benefit to ourselves, to the economy, to our country. Let's stop acting naive about this. We will all get there. We will experience sex. Last but not least, most of the teens nowadays are physically active, are sexually active, maybe because of the influence of peers or teenagers. If they access this information, they will be able to avoid teenage pregnancies. In accordance to the KDHS 2014, 1 out of every 5 girls has begun childbearing or has a child. So, this sex education will be a source of help to make them practice preventive measures. Better access to family planning education will mean less heartbreaking decisions made by the students affected later on. This will make them to practice preventive measures that they can apply later on in their lives. It is like that. I'm trying to say that it won't stop teenage pregnancies, but it will act as a support to help reduce the high rates at which teenage pregnancies are happening. This is like saying the earth is flat, or we are living in an evolutionary primate. Even the Virgin Mary got pregnant out of wedlock. Thank you.
The first proposal, you have 3 minutes to make your submissions.
A wise man once said, if you want to fight, or if you want to end a problem, you fight the root of the problem and not the problem itself. Family planning should be introduced as a lesson to high school students. High school students, family planning. We have come across this word, family planning. Educating people how to get a certain number of children, or determining the spacing between pregnancies, and the ways with which they are going to use to achieve these, such as use of contraceptives. This is Weshuli Joshua. I'm here to strongly oppose this motion that says family planning should be introduced as a lesson to high school students. Necessity is the mother of invention. Also, they say, family planning is being introduced in which to fight this problem. And that being the problem, it is not, we don't want to fight the problem, but I've said we want to fight the cause of the problem. Curiosity. killed the cat. Or so they say. Teaching the students about family planning is only going to trigger the sense in a student to know more. And where will the students be? Imagine someone teaching you today, it is very wrong for you to engage in premarital sex. It is very wrong for you to do this. And then he comes back and tell you, you know what? You can just get to engage in this premarital sex. And then by using this, you'll be able not to get these early pregnancies. You'll be able not to contract these diseases. Why do we contradict ourselves? As high school students, we want to focus on how to better our future. We are not focusing on how we are going to have families in future. For how can we start planning for the families in the future when we have not created our life as early as now? In high school, this actually is not that I'm saying family planning is bad, but the place where we want to introduce this family planning, this education, the place is very wrong actually. To high school students, for which purpose? Say university. If we are going to introduce this family planning to the students, we are going just to waste time teaching them about family planning. And because of that, let me just give you this news. I have both bad and good news. The bad news is that time flies. But the good news is that we are the pilot. So, if we are the pilot, why don't we use our time very well to get to achieve our future? The solution as I finish is that let us use the religious leaders, let us use the teachers to get to teach us the moral lessons because they have the ability to influence us through inspiration, which is generated by passion and motivated by a vision, created by a conviction, produced by a purpose of making us to be perspicacious that we are in a race for us to create our place and maintain our pace to reach our grace, which is becoming future engineers and lawyers in the future, and not telling us that family planning. Thank you.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for a rebuttal.
In account of what my opponent has said, that family planning should not be introduced as a lesson to high school students. The family planning being introduced to high school students, they are being told of how these methods will help them pursue their future. Like for instance, according to the business published on 27th November 2018, in Kenya, 11% of teenagers are having sex even before their 15th birthdays. The rest is in Uganda are the same with that of Kenya, of about 10% of teenagers having engaged in premarital sex. And teenagers engaging in premarital sex will lead to early pregnancies. These early pregnancies is what we are trying to avoid here. Can you tell me that a teenager can just get pregnant and continue to learn comfortably? I think no. So the introduction of these family planning methods will help these teenagers at least to prevent these early pregnancies. Yeah, my first point is family planning lessons will introduce these students to access into better morals, that they will be taught of how to plan their work, and they will be told on the safety measures of how they should plan their work after all. And according to the SDG, goal number 3, a bold commitment has been made to end the epidemics of AIDS. And Sub-Saharan African, being a region that teenagers are dying because of AIDS, this family planning will help to cut down the teenagers' pregnancies and the STDs that will be affected to them. Secondly, family planning will help to develop our nation, because let's say that family planning is true that it has its disadvantages. But each side of advantages are of big help to us more than the disadvantages. You know that we really need a developed country, isn't it? We really need, yes, we need. And because we need a developed nation, introducing family planning to these students will at least help these students to concentrate on what they'll be doing. And they will achieve their natural goal of education because they will have that concentration on studies. I think I should surrender my position. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Call a spade and not a big spoon. You should get the chance to say the truth and not shy off from the truth. You say they engage in sex. Why do they engage in sex? Do they lack contraceptives? That's why they engage in sex? No, they lack values. And that's why we are saying, and understand me, my friends, we are not saying that family planning should not be introduced. But at the right time, I was actually asking myself, when my parent told me to come to school, he told me, go and learn, my daughter, be a lawyer. How many of us in this room were told by their parents, my son, my daughter, go to school and sire children, by show of hands? So, if that is not the case, why introduce family planning? The aim to go to school is to learn, not to make children, as they said. Then you said, if we introduce family planning, we are going to help our country, we are going to develop it. How? And for which purpose again? Let a student be a student. Let a kid be a kid. Introduce these family planning methods in future, so that let them instill values right now, tell them how to be moral upright, show them how to control themselves and their emotions. Then, at university and higher levels, you tell them of how to use these contraceptives, as you say, and family planning methods. So they know we had values, this is what we are supposed to do. Then now we want to make family. Now we get that knowledge of family planning in this time, but not bringing the subject in high school students and telling us that you're going to develop our country and that, again, we're going to help our children. Actually, you are destroying them if you don't know. According to World Health Organization, 58% of teenagers get early pregnancies, of course. 6.5% of these students are engaging in relationships. Now, if I may ask, how many times have you opened your TV to see university students killing themselves because of love issues? Now, if these students were taught the values in high school that you're supposed to do this, you're not supposed to engage in relationship issues, then in university, they are told of the methods to use contraceptives in love issues. Will the killing that we've been seeing every time on TV, now and then, KTN, Citizen, and all other stations, be going on? I don't think so. Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, teach a child the right way, and when he grows up, he will not depart from it. Teach him, this is wrong. You know, you cannot tell someone, don't drink the milk, it's too sweet. Then you tell him, actually, you can use a straw to drink it. And you expect that child to remain steady. No, we cannot do that. And if the government want to help the children, let them bring religious leaders, as we have said. Let them speak to these children. Let them teach them the values. Then they will decide for them in high school and other institutions if they're going to use those contraceptives. And even if they're moral upright, how are they going to use the contraceptives? Now, if you're a great parent, great teacher, great student, learn values, live with it, and do not try to destroy our children by bringing family planning issues. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked. They have mainly based their argument on the prevention of teenage pregnancies. But what about sexually transmitted diseases and infections? Even if we do use family planning or educate the students on family planning, how do we prevent such from occurring? The opposers have been asked, is educating high school students on family planning giving them the go-ahead to engage in sex, or is it just helping them to plan for their future? Third opposer. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Amai Bravin, Banja mixed. I would like to give an account of what my opponent has said. And the question asked, the sexual diseases can be prevented by the family planning simply because we have the preventive measures. When the pupils, the students are taught the preventive measures, they can do whatever they want to do, but in their minds, they keep on with their preventive measures and they can have safe measures. On to my first point. Schools should give family planning lessons to students. This is simply because I think that anything that schools can do to help students is to give them what they want to know and to have. Now, as the opponents are opposing this motion, I propose simply because if the students are given the lesson of family planning, they will get more courage, and because we came to school to learn and we want to know more, the teachers can't leave the students aside and get them aside for them to have the pregnancies and while the teachers succeeded in their learnings. So they will give them this lesson to teach them on how and what is the dangerous and the effects of not having this thing called family planning. Because family planning is good, we will have those teachers teaching them and they will get it. My second point is that prevention is better than cure. Better access to family planning and to educate the students will help them further to succeed in their life. We'll reduce these things like heartbreaks, and the decision will be for the people and for the students later on. It won't stop teenagers' pregnancies, but it will go a long way to support students to take preventive measures. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
To the second opposer, talking about planning their work, please tell us more. What work? You talked about planning of work. What work? I'd like to tell you, don't lie to us. Are you yourself using those family planning methods? You have come to school to learn, not to be taught family planning methods. And that answers the question of Alvin Moses from St. Joseph's Boys, Kitale. You ask a question that, if you engage students in family planning method, are you giving them a go-ahead to engage in sex or planning for their future? What I'll still insist on is what my first opposer said, that there's time for everything. Let us not bring this thing of family planning method because this is the wrong time. We want to learn. Take for instance, your mother is toiling in the sun, and wants to pay school fees for you. And you are coming to be taught family planning method. Are those things of your age? No, these things should wait until we reach the level that they are supposed to teach us. So let's not engage ourselves in family planning methods. Third proposer, please tell us the preventive measures. You have spoken about preventive measures. Show me the preventive measures and I'll believe you. And now, the motion today is family planning method should be introduced as a lesson to high school students. I'm opposing this motion strongly by saying that family planning methods should not, underline the word not, and if possible, put a capital letter in your sentence, should not be introduced as a method, as a lesson to high school students. Why do I say so? Family planning method being introduced as a lesson will lead to recklessness. In what essence? Take for example, you woke up today and found that you can't die. What will you have done? Yes? Any question? Any answer? of course, you will live a reckless life. And that is what we are trying to imply by discussing this motion, family planning method. After educating this youth, we are all youths, right? Or is there anybody who is a child here? No, we are all teens. After educating this youth, that is us, after educating these youths, they will engage in sex. Sex in what essence? So long as I do sex in the name of safe sex. And that is what we are trying to kick out in our society today. We are trying to kick out the vices which might be brought by the family planning methods. And those vices are like sex, prostitution. Tell a girl, you might use this and you'll not get pregnant. The girl doesn't have any money. She doesn't have pocket money. What will she do? She will take that medicine or syrup, if it's a pill, take it and say that I'm going to work, but the work is prostitution. Because you know that so long as I do, I won't get pregnant. What is that? Neglection. This goes against the national education goal number 4, which states that, allow me to read, promote sound, moral, and religious values. How are we going to promote morals if we are into these family planning methods? How? Just tell me, how? Education should provide for the development of knowledge, skills, and attitude that will enhance the acquisition of a child to bring him or her up to become self-disciplined. Self-discipline in what essence? Teach me how to fish, and I'll fish for the rest of my life. If you teach this child the traditional method, and the traditional method here is abstinence, be faithful, not family planning method. This is technology which you are bringing about. We should not let this technology come over us. If you teach a child how to fish, he will fish for the rest of his life. Teach me how to use contraceptives, I will use it for the rest of my life. And that is what proposers are trying to tell us, that we should use these contraceptives for the rest of our lives. Don't lie to us. Oh, proposers, don't lie to us. We are fellow Kenyans. There are innocent souls here. We don't want to go astray. Tell us the truth. Zachros Ben, Wareng High School. Next.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
As my opposers have said, the main issue of educating children is to help them make a brighter future. That future includes making up the family. And that family, one should be able to maintain or to be able to cater for that family that he or she intends to make. So family planning will help to reduce the poverty ratio, since many people who are living in low standards give birth to many children, whereas they are unable to provide for them food and other basic needs. So I support that family planning should be introduced to students, not only for them to go to practice, but they should be aware of the precautions or of the changing world that we are living in. Thank you.
Opposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
According to the National Goal of Education number 6, it advocates for the promotion of respect for and development of Kenya's rich and varied cultures. In this case, education should be used to bring an understanding in the Kenyan youth about the past and present of their contemporary society. The children should be able to blend the best, and I repeat, to blend the best of the traditional cultural practices such as abstinence, self-control, and such values in order to build a stable and a modern society. Don't confuse modernity and immorality. I'm Weshuli Joshua from Wareng High School. Thank you.
The proposition side, Banja Secondary School. To Valerie Lukagi, you played your role where you defined the terms. You referred to a good report about teenage pregnancy, which was for 2016, 2017, but you didn't elaborate on it and convince us on the relevance of the same. You talked about some SDG concerning good health, and you zeroed down to the issue of women. Remember, we are talking about family planning and the issue of high school students. You are a good speaker if you can learn to relax. Mbone, you had good statistics about premarital sex concerning teenagers. However, your cross-examination as a second speaker was very weak. You were unsure, and at one point you really strained to argue out your point, and thus you resorted to a lot of reading. Bravin Amai, you can be a very good speaker again, but you are incoherent and tensed, and therefore you ended up coming with some statements which one could not really follow very well. Some of them included having this thing. Which thing? We are talking about a motion, and there are specific things we are going for. So we need to be careful and look out on the same.
To Wareng, first speaker, I called you a great teacher because you have a way of sort of teaching and sinking in the messages. Nonetheless, now you want to use facts because you're very passionate. You have that presence. You have to use facts. The question is this: family planning has been introduced already in a way to schools. The president has even launched condoms for school. That is in the know. You did not mention those things, by the way. What you should have now used is statistics to show why is teenage pregnancy still on the rise. Are we together? That's how you show that this thing is not working. And I want to appreciate what Anna brought in, because you started by saying that we are lacking values. If that was your stand, I can assure you it would have been a very easy walk, because then you should have told us what is the alternative, because this thing is not working, and show us how it's completely not working, even if it's not just here in Kenya, in other places as well. Ben, that recklessness was a very good point, but don't have your entire 3 minutes on one point, all right? All the best. We wait for the results.
On to the results. Banja Secondary School. The judges awarded you 64%. Let's give them a round of applause. Wareng High School. The judges awarded you 69.7%, making you the winners of this debate. Congratulations to the two schools for a job well done.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to watch the Great Debaters contest. It gets better debate after debate. I've been your host, Chris Borro.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. See you in the next episode.